If you were like most anxiety sufferers, when you first started having severe anxiety, you had no idea what was happening to you. You were wondering why you were having such intense and bizarre symptoms, and most importantly, why they weren't going away. The problem is that this confusion and bewilderment can prevent anxiety recovery. So today, let's talk about the conversation that's going on in your head and how to correct it so you can get back on the path to recovery. Let's dive in. All right, let's discuss what is happening inside our minds when we initially develop anxiety. That's such an important aspect that isn't talked about enough. But what happens is, for the vast majority of anxiety sufferers, we eventually develop a narrative around our anxiety. Now, it's not always clear what that narrative is in the beginning, as we're typically just searching for answers. For instance, when I first started experiencing anxiety, I thought it was because of something that had happened to me. In other words, I thought it was an external stress or a health issue, and I was constantly trying to connect the dots to find out the reason why I was having such severe anxiety. To be honest, I thought it might have been from the stress of moving across the country to start a new job. And also in the back of my mind, I also worried that I might have a serious medical condition like a tumor or some disease. And so my mind would cycle through these types of thoughts and search for reasons for my anxiety. But once I got checked out by my doctor and he confirmed that I had no other medical conditions besides my anxiety, I settled on the narrative that my anxiety was caused from the stress from moving and starting a new job. I told myself that that was the cause of my anxiety. But because that was my narrative, I continued to tell myself that if I just let some time pass, my anxiety would go away. I believed that if I just gave it some time and I got farther away from that stressful period in my life, I'd settle in and my anxiety would be gone. Now, having these types of narratives are normal. In fact, most anxiety sufferers try to rationalize a reason for their anxiety. That's because when your anxiety gets so bad that it begins to significantly impact your life, your brain desperately wants to be able to identify what has caused your anxiety. And I see this all the time with my clients. Now, anxiety can sometimes begin during stressful periods in your life, such as during a divorce or financial difficulties or the loss of a job. And sometimes it's initiated by a panic attack. Now, you can often identify and hold on to these events, believing that they were what caused your anxiety. But then here's what happens. As you get farther and farther away from these events, you begin to question this narrative. Because after all, shouldn't your anxiety start feeling better by now? I mean, if your anxiety was caused by a divorce that happened 6 months ago, shouldn't your anxiety be decreasing or maybe even completely eliminated by now? But in most cases, especially with my clients, not only has your anxiety not gotten better, but it's got even worse. It's going in the complete opposite direction of recovery. So you've been getting more waves of anxiety, more panic attacks, and more intense sensations like derealization and heart palpitations. Suddenly, you start to wonder if you're ever going to get better. You worry that you might be stuck in the state forever. This is the stage where I meet most of my clients. My clients tend to be questioning their narratives and wondering why they're stuck with their anxiety. Sure, they've tried all sorts of things to get better. I mean, they're seeing doctors, reading forums, watching YouTube videos, and taking some supplements. But nothing is working. They can't find the exit door to anxiety. Now, this actually makes my job a lot easier when I meet with an initial client, because a requirement of recovery is that you change this narrative. You have to stop telling yourself that you have anxiety because of a certain event or stressful period in your life. Because realistically, that is not the case. If I'm talking to a client, I tell them, you don't have anxiety because of that divorce, and I didn't have anxiety because of my big move and starting a new job. Here's the actual truth. The reason you have anxiety right now is because your nervous system has become disrupted. It has started to malfunction and it's engaging your fight or flight response unnecessarily. It is preparing you to fight a threat or flee to safety when you're not in any danger. To be clear though, anxiety does often start during stressful periods or when you've had a panic attack. That is the trigger to your nervous system starting to malfunction. But That stressful period or that panic attack has nothing to do with why you have anxiety now. Instead, it is the overactive and the sensitized nervous system that is causing all your symptoms, and it's the reason that you're not recovering from anxiety. In order to recover, what we're going to do is we're going to get your nervous system back to working normally. In other words, we're going to stop it from engaging your fight or flight response and constantly flooding you with adrenaline and cortisol. Now, if you're new to this channel, I've done a bunch of videos on how to recover, so make sure you check them out. Also, I've put the entire framework for the recovery process in the link below, and it's called the 5-Step Cure to Anxiety and Panic Attacks. That's going to break down the recovery steps so you can get on the path to recovery. Lastly, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And please share this video with someone who you think might benefit from it. I'll see you on the next episode.